crossing. Blast it. I did not want to do that horizontal thing. Or is that you, Ron? Are you the one who's doing the portrait mode? Maybe
You know,
so.
some Christians are vertical and some are horizontal. And maybe
Yeah.
together you
Wow.
make a full cross.
Well,
That's
if I get a TikTok account, maybe I could stream to TikTok. They say
how.
that's all the kids are still on TikTok in spite of our national security warnings.
Actually, I read something recently that said YouTube is still the most popular social media platform. Now, I don't think it could be what it was something like 87% of, I think it was Americans only, but 87% of Americans use YouTube, whereas only about 37% of Americans use TikTok. Um, I think, but then the question is like, what is usage and how is YouTube considered social media? I thought we're the only, weirdos that are actually using it to like know each other
I'm
as opposed to
discovering there's
ranting.
more. I
Yeah.
mean, we may be doing it a little more in terms of with adding in the conferences and stuff, and then we have the estuary meetings, so we're more of a hybrid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I Reverend Ed. I keep trying to match make between PVK and Reverend Ed because Reverend Ed is doing something. He's based up in Canada, Nova Scotia or somewhere,
I don't know if you're
and
allowed to use that word. Never mind. Go on.
Canada.
Based. No, based.
oh, paste. There are no words. There are no more words we can use.
Dude,
We offend somebody. Anyway, he's part of the Christian resistance fold. You know, more progressive.
Mhm.
But he's doing a lot of the same stuff. He just doesn't do the randos, but he does have a pretty big. He's got about 80,000 subscribers. He runs 2 or 3 very active live streams a week. Interacts directly with his people. They directly contribute to him and his ministry at his local church and in his community as well. So it's happening. It just happens in different ways and around different things too, right? I mean, it's not always around church. It might be around motorcycle repair or something, or food. By the way, I proposed on Twitter X that we start a crazy sandwich club in the TLC. Basically, the idea would be you find a recipe that interests you, make it, try it, review it, post it, and tag us, and we'd have an active. So shorts, find out, And Karen Wong actually got it. She responded and she came up with a really cool one. Her mom used to make her. She said, and they always have peanut butter in them somewhere. Just a thought. Obviously,
Cool
not
idea.
getting. Nobody's really excited.
You guys ever make peanut butter and banana sandwiches? So something I
wondering.
was raised with peanut butter and banana on like a bagel.
Elvis, that was Elvis's big thing.
Ah.
Him and Priscilla, yeah.
You know, when you're raised with something, you don't know like what's normal to the outside world until you grow up a little bit more. And I found out that peanut butter banana was not normal to the outside world. Like peanut butter and jelly was normal to the outside world, but peanut butter and banana was not. Whereas as a kid, I thought those two things were like, oh, sometimes we have peanut butter and jelly, sometimes we have peanut butter and banana.
My mom used to eat those all the time when I was growing up. She stopped at some point, I think, but then again, I moved out of the house.
Sliced horizontal, or was it?
Yeah, no, I mean sliced in like who slices a banana vertically? That's ridiculous.
Banana split.
Yeah.
There's got to be a split, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So Houston, what's Houston like at this time of year?
I mean, it's pretty much similar to New Orleans. It's a little bit drier, a little bit cooler. It's about 6 hours west of New Orleans, which down here is a short drive. Where I'm from originally is a very long drive, but because in New Jersey you got to drive more than an hour. You're like, man, that's so far. Like Philly, an hour and 15 minutes. We're not going to Philly. Atlantic City, we got to drive an hour and a half to gamble. No, let's go to the Indian casino. That's closer. That's better.
So, Ron, you had a hot topic that you wanted to bring to the table. You want to lead us off with that?
Oh no, Kale Zeldin posted where I wish it would have been Kale. Somebody went to an observatory. You know, the lights were off and all that, and everybody saw a UFO. And Neil, the reason I've mentioned it to Mark is I tagged underneath Neil's. What did Kale say? You know,
I added the turkey, and now Ron froze.
No, it's the minute he starts talking about UFOs. They ixnay on the UFO nay.
All right. So, how can we talk about they who shall not be mentioned or something? What's that? Named. Ron, come on, Ron. So, what do you think of UFOs? Why are you okay? So you spend okay here. We'll just until Ron comes back. Neil, do you and your wife split the holidays between in-laws?
No, actually, this over Thanksgiving. Usually, we're all together over Thanksgiving. But I hadn't seen my parents in a while. It was, I would say, convenient for it just worked out for a variety of reasons. For I guess 5 days I'm here, and then the one tradition we do have is Christmas. I do Christmas and New Year's in New Orleans with like big family on my wife's side. But then in between, like the day after Christmas
Mm-hmm.
and the day before New Year's, sorry, so the day after Christmas, I drive 6 hours west, and then the day before New Year's Eve, usually not on New Year's Eve, day before New Year's Eve, I drive back to New Orleans. Because my wife's side of the family, like, this is something you figure out, merging families is like what each family prioritizes.
Mm-hmm.
And from my wife's side of the family, it's like specific days. Like you have to be there on the specific day because we're doing specific events. We have a specific ritual as a family. And for my side for my parents, like they just want time with me. So yeah, and like usually we all go together over to Houston, but yeah, there were just extenuating circumstances that made it easier for just me to come this time.
Okay.
And yeah,
Cool.
so
Ron, are you back?
I don't know. You tell me. I touched the wire. I killed
the
it.
assassins have failed. Maybe.
Pretty much. No, they
What have
actually.
you been in the last 30 seconds when we were talking without you? Have you been body snatched? And now this is a replacement Ron Copperman that we're speaking. Oh, now it's Mega Ron. I see. Okay, I will conduct the conversation that we now have with that knowledge accordingly.
So it's like Harry
Hail
Potter.
Zelda.
What was, well, you point the wand at him menacingly. What was the last time? What was the last sandwich we had at Estuary? Don't get the right sandwich, you get a abacadabra. What was the killing curse?
Yavada Kedavra.
Is that from Abracadabra? Was from a magician, and I think it was a spin-off and a spoof from when priests will turn their back to the congregation and they will bless the host, consecrate it, and there's a certain phrase that they will say that's similar to abracadabra. So I think abracadabra is a slang and a put down for it. But have you guys ever heard that one? Or should I research it? No?
No, I don't know where the phrase comes from.
All right. So, all right. Where was I? I rabbit
Kale
trailed.
Zeldin. Kale Zeldin.
Oh, yeah. So,
By the way, I found this one particular. I enjoyed this one. People always liked you in uniform, Ron.
oh, golly. You're just killing me, Mark.
Riding a turkey. Marilyn Monroe's in attendance. Abigail Adams. They're both at the table. JFK's in there. Lincoln's off to the far side. Billy Graham was supposed to be in there, but I don't recognize Billy Graham in there.
Oh my gosh.
If you look at AI generated images carefully, the way that you tell that they're AI generated is the eyes.
Yeah.
And the reason is that, and
Crazy eyes.
I'm speculating on this actually, but what
Okay.
I've noticed is that humans are really good at face recognition through eyes. Like meaning that when you look at someone's face, the area around their eyes, and actually if you look at Disney animation, for instance, or any animation studio, the eyes are always enlarged relative to the rest of the face of any image. And the reason that they do that is because most of your facial expression is in your eyes, like the vast majority of your facial expression. And so if you just take like this part of Neil and you ignore the rest, like it's really only about a quarter of my face, but if you take that quarter of my face, you get like 90% of whatever I'm attempting to convey with facial expression. Yeah. So like we're really good at picking up on patterns in eyes. I guess for the non-autistic, probably it's more so the case. But so if you look at an AI image and it feels off, like look at the eyes, and the eyes are like Ron's eyes there. Like Mark, your eyes there look okay. You know, they just look dark. Ron's eyes look like, you know, he's basically missing an eyeball in his left eye there.
Yeah, this was not the best.
yeah.
I usually I would take more time. This was just a one-off for fun, and so I just threw it up there and I didn't do much with it. But yeah,
No, but
if I were
at a casual glance, it's fine. But then you look closely at the eyes.
yeah. It really doesn't pass muster. But I do think they got the turkey eyes right.
Yeah, we're not really good at facial recognition of animals.
Other species.
But I bet if other turkeys looked at those turkeys,
That's it.
they'd say, these are weird
This
turkeys.
is
Something's
way
not
off,
right.
man. Way off.
Yeah.
You know, if turkeys in general were that size, I think they could take over the world. They're kind of creepy. They're
Yeah.
just big, dangerous dinosaurs. Like
They are.
they're looking at you like, "You gonna eat me? Really? Okay, I got something to say about that." So
Let me introduce you to my little friend.
that's it. So Neil, are you visiting family right now?
Yeah, I'm at my
okay.
parents' place.
Nice. So I have.
Tell us about UFOs.
Oh
Fire
yeah.
away.
All right. So here's the deal. Kale accidentally friended me on Facebook, and so
Accidentally.
yeah.
How do we let
So-
this non-Catholic heathen in?
For a moment, a subterfuge. So I don't want to move my phone because I don't want to. So
Yeah.
basically, they're at a museum, observatory. They see a UFO. It's not just one person, and I want to see what Kale. But I can't move my phone too much, otherwise I'll lose signal.
Here, you want me to read it for you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
See if I can pull. No, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah. Go ahead, Neil. You're clear.
No, you guys read it first.
So
I gotta pull it up first. It was a repost though. It wasn't. This
Yeah,
at first,
no, it wasn't.
Ron faked me out and made me think that it was actually Kale reporting.
a UFO, that would
A
be
UFO.
awesome. Next
But what
year,
actually Kale said is intriguing. It's for global. Anybody can see it, so I could probably put it up. So let's see. This is what Kale found intriguing. It's from Clinton Sensat. Do not know anything about Clinton Sensat, but I have the opportunity to follow Clinton Sensat if I want to. Okay. This is what Clinton says. I wanted to share something disturbing that happened last night. We were visiting the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff and standing amazed at the crisp clearness of the sky. For the first time in my life, I was able to see the Milky Way, moving satellites, shooting stars, and so much more, all with my naked eye. At around 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, we were sitting on the roof amphitheater of the observatory, waiting for a presentation to begin. To while away the time, we were tracking satellites in the sky. They were easy to see. Clearly not planes. They looked somewhat like the bright, somewhat like the brightness of stars, but moving quickly in straight lines across the sky, light flaring and fading as they caught the sun. I pointed out one apparent satellite almost directly overhead, and two members of my party, a gentleman next to me and a lady behind me, all started tracking it. Then it turned and reversed direction, accelerated off to the right, doubled back, spun a few times in a loop, moved over to the west again, traced a few lines north and south, and then stabilized about 7 degrees southwest of Saturn, and maybe 3 or 4 arc degrees of the sky away. And I guess so. He means like this arc, I suppose. Where are we at? Okay, it then began the pulse and darken. It moved erratically for some time, but now roughly holding position in the sky like it was oscillating around a fixed point, though irregularly. Say that 3 times fast. Irregularly. We tracked this phenomenon for 45 minutes. Wow, that's a long time. Members outside of our group saw it as well. The astronomer giving the presentation said she could not explain it. Nothing in the sky is supposed to move like that. I make no claims or even guesses about what it was. I don't know. But I do know it was not the following. It was not a satellite. It was not a plane. It was not a drone. I'm not sure how you would know that, but okay. It was not a trick of my eyes or my pulse causing my sight to twitch. Not a single other light in the sky moved erratically. And it was not the fevered imaginings of a child or a disturbed person. At least 5 sane adults in grave middle age witnessed the phenomenon. Grave middle age, I like that. I don't believe in alien spaceships crossing between the stars for a variety of compelling scientific reasons. So I'm disinclined to believe in the normal assumptions people would make. But I don't know what I saw, and I know I saw something. Upon searching the internet, I found numerous other people had seen exactly what I saw last night, dating back at least 25 years. Independently, they described it using the language that we already used that night. Their descriptions did not influence mine. The dad next to me thought it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen. I found it very disturbing. But I knew if I said nothing, I would be like so many others who see things and keep it to themselves. So that talk of these phenomena seems ridiculous. I considered recording it, but cell phones were banned due to being a cause of light pollution. And honestly, I thought of what my own response to seeing such cell phone footage would be. Asterisk. Obviously, this was faked. Asterisk. I didn't want to risk being thrown out of the observatory for video no one would take seriously anyway. And if I'm honest, I was scared. I didn't want to see what I was seeing. I didn't want to record it. I didn't want to be that guy. But here we are. I am not joking. This is not fiction. I saw something. I don't know what. Yet I felt the need to report it so that others who have seen similar can feel that they are not alone, are not crazy, are not ridiculous. I am shaken, but I am telling the truth. Okay, sorry, it's a very long read, but that's it. Thoughts?
So, Tim.
Not Tim.
Not Tim. So the reason I was pretty proud is like I promoted House of Woo. I said this could be easily answered on the House of Woo's Tuesdays at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, and then I should have put down hashtag Grim Grizz or something, and then posted a Ko-fi, but next time.
Kind of over promising, Ron, and we're
Well,
at the risk of under delivering. So how are we
well,
gonna
but
how are
here's
we
the thing.
gonna solve
But
this?
here, but this is why I want to talk about it. It reminds me of not even about the UFOs. That's not the issue. It's about people seeing things they don't want to see, but seeing them in groups. I think you call them frames and your axioms. And it's like when Jordan Peterson, who is not of faith, had a ghost in his motel room or something. They had ghosts.
Right.
And that's what this reminded me of, a real clear narrative or story of someone getting challenged. And I wonder if that's just going to be happening more and more on scale with, well, that just not because of AI, but just it seems like that's what's happening. It seems like, and is it, what would you, like I can see it and is it unraveling of, what you take for granted as true and real? And then when something comes into your life, having just the emotional framework inside you built to process stuff that's confusing. And
Okay.
it reminds me of that one story with the book, Don't Sleep on the Beach, There Are Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that just reminds me of a Western version of that. Because usually people on drugs see UFOs, and I think and here's the funny thing, I think they are. I think there's some weird, it's like a spiritual encounter that seems to be happening in the West, and in the West, it's not images of a deity, it's UFOs or maybe Bigfoot, but more so, I think UFOs have happened enough, not to say that there are UFOs. It's either a technological advancement that is amazing that is being kept quiet, or something. And I don't want to go collective unconsciousness. That's like, no, it's more like a spiritual punching through the veil. So that's why it was entertaining to me.
Entertaining. Okay, but you promised we were going to solve it for him or something.
Well, it's all right. Well, then I can just go straight Pentecostal. Go. It's a if it's not it's a hierarchical being that's a hyper object in a Pagelian way, and then it's going to have some sort of agency either for you or against you.
Penta-orthodoxian.
Ooh, all like that. So
Neil, Tim, help Ron out.
Oh, come on, guys. Yeah. Come on, grade my paper. Tear it up.
No.
I'm not, I won't take it personally. This is just fun.
Who is me the judge of you, old man? Here, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, first of all, UFO just means you don't know what it is. Like, that's all it means. It's unidentified. Like, we don't know.
Right.
So that's the first point. The second point is, if, to ensure it's not a projection of your own imagination, whatever it might be, that's why we have other people. So humility is basically assuming that if you're alone on believing something, you're probably wrong. That's humility. It's like, or let's say distrusting your own sense data as much as you distrust everyone else's opinion in the moment. Especially if you're in a and I've actually never done this, but I've heard of people who it's much easier to hallucinate and hear things and see things when you're in a sensory deprivation state, because your brain is kind of making up for the lack of noise. So if you're up in a place without distraction, you don't have your phone, you're not used to being without distraction. There's not any noise at all. There's no nature noise. There's no, there's no distraction. So first of all, your senses are already really heightened, and so you're more susceptible to hearing and seeing things as a result of that. Now, the fact that other people saw it, that lends me to to believe him, this person. But then we go back to the unidentified aspect, and he says for certain that it's not a drone. Now, I would say, what makes him certain of that? Like, has he surveyed the fullest extent of the American military's drone programs? Do we even know what the U.S. military can do in terms of flying objects now compared to the baby stuff that's being used in Ukraine and Russia right now?
Right.
Whatever the baby technology that is relatively well known over there, like, do you think that the full extent of what the U.S. government can do in terms of flying objects is available for public consumption? I mean, I'm sure, and then they have to test that kind of stuff, so they have to fly it.
Right.
So that's what my first thought would be. And it's not even that I disbelieve like pilots that have, I'm not an expert in this stuff because I'm not really really that interested in it. Where it starts like interfering with day-to-day lives, like if the Independence Day scenario arrives where something touches down and actually interacts with human life on it, like if that happens, I would take more notice of it,
Okay. Right.
but until that happens, like it's like either our military, or there are aliens, or there are powers and principalities beyond our current understanding in material reality,
Right.
whatever that is. Now in terms of the right response to something like this is actually something that's only really come to me after having to teach high school class. So I'm teaching a Catholic high school class, or I guess like 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade. So the way it works is I have to teach like one class a week. I have 45 minutes to teach the Bible to Catholic kids. And I teach 8th grade, and then I go 9th grade, and then I go 10th grade, and then I go 11th grade. So it's like, basically I get them once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And for the month of October, I was teaching Mary, because it's like what is the biblical basis of everything the Catholic Church believes about Mary? And that's what I taught. And the thing that strikes me about all the passages about Mary, and so I'll read you a couple. So this is from, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Luke chapter 1, verse 29, or sorry, 28. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored, the Lord is with you." So verse 29 is really interesting because it says, Mary was greatly troubled at his word and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. So Mary was greatly troubled. It's like, you would think if you're visited by like this divine being that you're so clearly sure is from God, that you would be like, oh, like I'm favored, that's amazing. And it's like, and all the passages are like, Mary is troubled and but it says like, there are multiple passages where it says, and she kept these and pondered them in her heart. Like she pondered them. There's like 4 lines where it says she kept this and pondered it. Like when Jesus is presented at the temple and he got Simeon with the prophecy that a sword will pierce your heart also, like she's like, she pondered this and she kept it in her heart. And the same thing goes for like the shepherds and the angels on high. It's like she kept these. So like the thing I'll say is that in Mary's case, she had a repeating series of extraordinary events. So she had the appearance, she had the pregnancy, she had so it wasn't just like one event. And then like, oh, I have to make sense of like my whole worldview off of one event. And by the way, she doesn't make sense of the worldview. It's not like she understands what the angel is actually saying. Like she's just like receiving it and she's thinking about it and keeping it and praying on it. And then it's like, if it's from God, and this is throughout all the Gospels, and like not only that, the whole Bible, if it's something that's actually from God, like it's a repeated pattern. Like you don't have to act on it. You can just kind of wait and receive it. And and so like Jesus, like everything Jesus does like multiple times. I'm gonna I have to go to Jerusalem and be crucified. You don't believe me? Okay, I got to go to Jerusalem and be crucified. It's like multiple. So, yeah. So that's where I stand on it. Like I think it's probably U.S. military. That's what I would wager. B, if it's not U.S. military and it is aliens, there's a possibility that that's true. I think that's the least likely. And then C, if there are like angels and demons flying around. Well, we believe that through all time anyway. So it's like, all right, wait. So my question with my response to that would be like, wait and see. Wait. Anyway, so
Okay. See, we figured it out. We delivered.
What do you think, Tim? Not Tim?
I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to figure out. I will say that I'm not entirely sure whether I believe things. I certainly know things, and there are things I don't know, but I'm not entirely sure that I'm capable of believing something. Just because of like how important it is for me to know things or not know things, which is in and of itself knowing that I don't know. And like, for instance, am I humble or am I not? Well, I feel like I know I'm not very humble because I'm constantly being humbled by things. And if I was already in a state of humility, then I wouldn't necessarily be humbled by, sort of mundane phenomenon. Like, there are things that have happened to me in my life that I can't explain with intellectual, academic, scientific, or sort of material inventory. And it seems to me that the instinct or the appetite to explain it, as far as like what happened there, what do you believe happened, what do you know happened, was trained and conditioned into me by faith leaders. Like, teachers don't, like my secular teachers didn't do that. But my pastors and my youth leaders and my priests and my spiritual leaders did. Let's take a very small amount of information and extrapolate the nature of the universe from it. And so, like, when you see something in the sky that you can't really explain, and then you create an entire worldview as to what it was, that's more similar to what you do when you read one verse from the Bible than say what Pasteur did when he was studying bacteria. And I don't think the comparison is anodyne or trivial. The other thing I'll say is, like, why does it matter, right? Like, what does it matter whether it was an alien or whether it was a weather balloon or atmospheric phenomenon? Also, atmospheric phenomenon should not be rolled out, right? Like, there are countless recorded phenomena that you've never seen and I've never seen, and you're never going to see it and I'm never going to see it. Beyond, sundogs or St. Elmo's fire. And so, like,
and he had
what
never,
does it matter?
And this guy had already said at the very beginning that he was seeing the sky in a way that was original to him, because he had never seen it with so little light pollution. So that's true.
Like, but again, like, what does it matter, right? Like, what does it say about your worldview as far as it mattering is concerned? It matters to me because I know that if extraterrestrial life were discovered, that would be our new BC AD. There would just be time before that discovery and time after that discovery. But from what I know of Muslims, Jews, and Christians, you should be praying with all your might that it was not aliens. You should hope
Please,
beyond
God,
hope
please.
that it was not aliens.
Why is
Because
that,
I-
though?
Because they're going to bring
Here.
Because I
Let me
know
ask you
that.
this. Let me play with you for a little bit on that one, because there's lots of good stuff here, guys, and we can spin off. But I would say the closest thing to discovering aliens, right, in human history, would be the discovery of the New World for the Europeans, and that shook. Well, it shook them, and it's interesting that it's only less than 20 years we have the Protestant Revolution, or no, yeah, less than 20 years, right?
Really?
1492.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Okay.
Martin Luther bangs his little thesis on the door of the cathedral in 1500 what? 5, 6, 7? Don't remember the exact date. That's terrible. But so we've been through it before, and it did rock our world, but we adapted. Tim, you're saying that this would rock our world even more. This would be like the coming of Jesus. This would be a BC AD kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, all philosophy, whether theological or secular, becomes moot or antiquated in an instant. Because
Okay, here's
it
a question
all-
then.
I disagree with that, but finish your thought.
Yeah, finish your
I was gonna
thought, but
say
then,
it-
yes.
It's like Copernicus with the heliocentric model versus the terracentric model, right?
Mhm.
Like, intrinsic to all philosophy is the implicit understanding that we are the pinnacle of biological development.
No, I think it's that the individual, or let's say consciousness, is the most inherent reality. So what I mean by that is, like, regardless of how many other consciousnesses exist out there, like it would, how do I say this? It would simply expand the limits of what we would have to consider children of God. Does the existence of the Native Americans, does that diminish the children of Godness, that we are all children of God? I think AI is really the edge of this conversation right now, right? So, like, what would it mean for us to give birth to machines that care, that suffer, that have dreams, that, like what does it mean to have a soul? Like, that's really the question. And then how do we extrapolate what has a soul? And like the big thing for me is, like, whether it cares, like whether the thing cares. And what that means is it has to create a hierarchy of love, you could say. Like, some things that I love more than others, inevitably. And that's the thing that then has an essence, a soul, whatever it might be.
Well, let's play for a second with Tim's thinking and
Sure.
and ask the question that if that's the case, it's possible, could really rock our world even more than Columbus's big mistake. Who's best adapted to, or who's best positioned to help us adapt to so startling a development? I mean, humanists, agnostics, scientific materialists, monotheists, polytheists, whatever. Who's in the best position to kind of, is Judaism going to step forward and give us I mean, is the Are they
Well,
the
I'm
ones
biased.
who are going to manage for us?
As a Christian, I'm
Catholicism?
biased, but I honestly think as a Christian, we have the best answer to post-modernity. And so this, in my mind, this just falls into more post-modernity,
Mhm.
where everything is nominal and arbitrary. It's like, what's the meaning of anything if there's an advanced space civilization out there with 100,000 star systems, and we're just this tiny like planet where they're waiting for us to become the next level of ape? So what's the point of anything? Like that's just post modernity. That's basically saying like there's this thing out there, and because there's this thing out there, that means that this doesn't matter, whatever this tiny little thing is. And I think the reason I think Christianity is the best answer to that is because Christ is humiliated and shamed to death on the cross. So like the very act of the crux of our belief, you could say, is you have an empire, the Roman Empire, which is the most powerful empire on the planet at the time, and you have the God man, in quotes, who's dead hanging on the cross. And it's like, is this God man actually going to take over the Roman Empire? And so like it is the ultimate postmodern joke that, yeah, like you are way more powerful. And when I say you, it's like whatever powers are out there, you're way more powerful than I am, no matter. And so the more powerful they get, it's more like, oh, that the more necessity I have to be a Christian, the more powerful everything else is. It's like, oh yeah, that's confirming that's why I need to be a Christian. Like, so I think postmodernism leads to the cross, if that makes sense. And I think powers and principalities of any kind inevitably lead to the cross for that reason.
Sorry, I cut out. I lost internet connection, so I didn't hear everything. And I got to go in a second, but I appreciate you letting me play around with the idea.
Tim, it was good hearing you. That's actually exactly what I was going to churn.
Yeah, it seems to me that war is endemic to the human condition, war and consciousness, and we only understand things as so far as we've gone to war with them and defeated them. So, we understand Native Americans insofar as the West has defeated it. And so we know where it ranks in the hierarchy. And so aliens can't be understood until we've gone to war with them. And, Jesus went to war with the Romans and he won, right? And I would say, is Jesus worth believing in, even if he didn't rise from the dead? And I would say, yes.
Oh, wow.
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
I make my view. Adios.
Hi, Tim.
Yeah, Tim.
That was fun. Mark, you're muted.
Catch me up. What did
Neil?
he say?
Is Jesus worth believing in, even if he did not raise from the dead? Now, St. Paul says no, that the faith is the moot. He's like, what's the point?
Mhm.
I'm actually somewhat with Tim on this. I'm somewhat disagreeing with St. Paul. I think I think I would still believe, even if let's say the aliens came to Earth
Mhm.
and they brought incontrovertible proof
Mhm.
that Jesus was just a dude. Like they brought like the best photographic evidence of like how he did the miracles, that he was the greatest magician who ever lived.
Mhm.
And it was just like they could wind back history and show us every step of the way about how Jesus was just a guy. Like the aliens play the most devastating postmodern card they can possibly play, deconstructing our flimsy faith. And wouldn't the greatest joke be if Jesus still was real and won and overcame that, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that. And so like most Christians fall away because they're convinced by the scientific materialism
Mhm.
of the proof of the aliens. And then
Yeah.
just a core cadre of lunatics that still
Right.
believe.
That's
See, I'm thinking that I'm s- I'm in it. See, I'm not in it for the smells and bells. I really, when I talk about the Jesus economy, just the way he approaches, the way he taught, the way the world is, I'm kind of in it for that. I'm in it because I believe I believe, oh, we lost the party pooper. Compact party pooper. Um, I'm in it for that whole upside downness because, turn the other cheek. The first will be last. The last will be first. That the world is the world is upside down and needs to be set right, and I'm in it for that. Now, I think Jesus and the kind of radical love. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a firm answer regarding the resurrection issue, because I just kind of take it as a given and move on. But since it's neither can be proven nor disproven, why? It's like, so why worry about it? But like you said, in a hypothetical, it is then the question is why stay?
in C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia? Was that C.S. Lewis?
Lewis.
Okay, yeah. And I didn't read the books. I just heard someone say this recently, and I hope I do it justice. At the end of the books, all the good guys are being held hostage in a cave by the White Queen, and
You're asking the wrong person.
well, then I'll botch it quickly, and I'll just.
These guys probably know. I just
All
don't
right.
know.
Well, I'll give. So there, she's deconstructing them in not believing in Aslan and where they came from, and she's just brainwashing them. And there's one character. I guess he has he's almost like a duck or something, but he can talk. And he goes, even if he's not real, I would rather believe he is. Rather believe in a fake world, this world.
Yeah, see, I struggle with that.
But I'm just trying
I
to.
couldn't go there. It has to
What?
be a deeper truth. And go ahead.
I've got a
Nathan.
party pooper observation to make. I don't know if it was Neil that said it earlier, but I reckon C.S. Lewis and whoever was talking earlier when I wasn't watching but just listening were both plagiarizing Dostoevsky when they said that. So, it's just one of those memes.
Hey Nathan, first hi.
Wait. What was this specific line that we plagiarized?
Even if it wasn't true, I'd still believe. It's kind of like cope is what it is. It's like
every thought that I've had, most likely has been thought by a greater mind than mine in history. It's not like
Sure.
I'm not original.
but I would make the suggestion that there's probably even like a direct causal path, like rather than you sort of like independently came to the same thing. People in these spaces often, read people like Dostoevsky or take quotes like that, and then they kind of make their way into people hearing them. But I appreciated what I think it was you saying about UFOs though and things. I thought that stuff was good.
Neil's very rational when you give him
What
a
do you
chance.
think they are, Nathan? Like the lights over New Jersey, when many people saw lights over New Jersey, for instance,
Right.
that was more American. I don't know if that was like worldwide news or.
Are they happening over England, by the way? Are you guys
Right
experiencing
now,
the same thing?
no. It's very localized to America. This stuff, really. There have been cases in the past where it's been Scotland, but I think that there's a combination of factors. One of the ones that mostly the things that you mentioned, but also some of the things I think you're not mentioning are the role that socialization plays in how people explain their experiences. And I think that this also pertains to quite well to religious experiences as well. So when people provide you with kind of conceptual schemas for experiences, you will recall those events and distort them over time in various ways, that mean that you will kind of truly believe or produce, you know, a description of affairs that's valenced in these particular terms, but may actually be very different to a more neutral description of the events. This is really common in like near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, religious experiences, UFOs. So I mean, even the stuff Ron's talking about, I mean, I've taken mushrooms upwards of maybe around 100 times at this point in my life, and
How much?
Maybe over 100 times. I
Dude,
mean, I've not been counting.
I know a rehab for you, Nathan. I'm here for you, bro. Come on, dude. You get a
My
tie
brain's
dye.
hurting just thinking
Well,
about it.
Well,
No,
yeah,
tell
but
us. I'm being sarcastic. I'm teasing
don't.
you. I'm
But
teasing you.
the point I guess the point to make is that you know, like when Ron was saying the things like, well, people explain seeing UFOs and stuff. Like, why do you think people are saying that? It's not because that's a theory. It's not because that's like a neutral description of the experience. It's more so because they're either primed through listening to hours of Terence McKenna talks, or they listen to like Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan says this, and that's what even gets them interested in psychedelics in the first place. You know, the cause beforehand is always someone giving people a story about what to expect or how to interpret certain aspects of the experience, right? And so
I could see why that level of participation in psychedelics would make you kind of shape you in the way you seem to be. Very much very concentrated on maintaining some kind of intellectual objectivity, or at least distance on whatever subject you're talking about, Nathan. It seems like that.
I just think there's different things people do, right? I mean, as long as we're describing stuff in words this way, it seems like our aim is on you know, I don't know if it was Neil that said it because I wasn't watching visually, but someone said something about like belief and explanation. And I just think like explaining is one of the things people do, and that's
Right.
one of the things people often try and do when they're doing theology. I think it's a bit of a weird rationalist mistake that people spend so much time on it when it comes to theology, because I mean, I think that's what creates a lot of these pathologies where then religion degenerates into like pseudoscience, and people try to come up with like a rival conception of reality because they're trying to play the same game, right? They're trying to play the explaining things game. And I think that in the explaining things game, you know, naturalism and scientific explanations are really the winning ticket in town, right? For everything, for psychedelic experiences, for UFOs.
Nathan.
No, actually, I'm deeply postmodern on this, in that I think subjective experience is the ultimate winning ticket. So what I mean by that is your subjective experience of how you perceive yourself, your subjective experience of how the world perceives you, your subjective experience of how you perceive your own path, your journey through time. But it's always through the lens of your subjective experience. You know, even the naturalistic view of the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree that naturalism is that when I'm giving you beliefs, it's me giving you those beliefs, right? I don't purport to be providing representations of a stance independent world. It is very much me saying these things to you about naturalism and so on. I just think that it's a mistake that modern people make, typically Americans, and they're often very blind to the causes of it, which are historical. So why, you know, it takes a lot of investigative work to understand that. And I think that, you know, often when people are taking psychedelics or even engaging in the kind of communities that care about UFOs a lot, or participating in religions, there's different things that they're trying to do other than explain things and make predictions, right? They're not trying to control the world or make predictions. Often they're seeking social closeness. Often they're trying to make sense of their emotions or life experiences or moral values or something. And all of those types of things are valid human activities, but just different from making predictions and explaining.
This is interesting because I didn't know this about you. So this is actually, so when you did 100, over your 100 times experiences, did you ever think or feel that you met absolute evil or good?
No, I don't think I've ever felt that I met absolute evil. I know that that's an experience you've had, but it's not one I've had. Yeah.
Okay, because this is okay. So first off, I'm saying, kids, don't do anything. But since we've already that ship has sailed, I do think often hallucinogenics are a cheat code into the supernatural and spiritual, for sure. Which is, I know nobody's going to watch this, and there's no kids that.
You're breaking up, Ron.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you're back. You're back. We can hear
The
you.
Lord is
Oh,
angry
yes,
at me because I'm almost advocating shrooms or hallucinogenics in a secondary way. But so he's breaking. All kidding aside, because I do agree with Neil. It's
you're scared of demons in the mushroom.
Oh no, not just that. And I'm not. I'm actually talking with.
If I had that internet connection, I'd be scared of demons too.
Because I'm actually usually when I.
Maybe try turning off your camera, Ron.
All right. Is it that bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Are we there?
We can hear you now.
Okay. It's just at 100 times, I'm like, usually something weird happens to everybody after 100 times.
Yeah, plenty of weird things have happened, just not any I would describe as encountering absolute evil.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was moving on. Okay. Just supernatural. And
well, I mean, I've had experiences that you would probably describe as supernatural. The question is, would I describe them that way, right? And that's
okay. That's
just in the same way as like there can be people in a group, and one of them can say, "Wow, we just saw a UFO," and one of them can say, "Oh no, that was a shooting star," or "That's the ISS going over," or so. People could explain things in different ways.
Nathan, I'm wondering, since how about you too, Neil? You've done this before, right? You've done a lot of hallucinogens.
Not 100 times, but yeah.
Okay, what do you think of the idea? And I've heard this pitched several times by others, so it's not original to me. But what do you think of this sort of thing being something like a near-death experience? That there is there anything to that?
There is evidence. I don't know if it's after first time use or I don't know what the threshold is, but I know that there's evidence that after use of psychedelics, your trait openness goes up considerably. The O and the Big Five personality profile. And so I felt I only tried LSD once, but in that experience, I felt like I had no interest in anything except like understanding my own mind. That's how it felt. It felt like I wasn't out of my body or anything like that, but I was just thinking about thinking in my own, but I knew it was my own patterns of thinking. And it was like, oh, that's why I think that way. And it was interconnected. It was almost like I was stream of consciousning the very experience of my brain connecting to itself in different ways. So, and it wasn't an unpleasant experience, but it wasn't like but it was and I don't have a desire to do it again.
Now you said the openness. You mentioned it increased the possibility that studies have shown that it maybe increases openness. Did it make you more open to your Catholic experiences and conversion?
Yeah, this was when I didn't consider myself a Christian when I was doing this stuff.
Right.
I considered myself, I wouldn't say I was an atheist. And my experience with most atheists, it's because they either had a poor relationship with their father, or they didn't have a relationship with their father. That in my experience is the single greatest indicator of whether someone is atheistic. It's their relationship with their, and it's not even their parents, it's their relationship with their father. And so the way I described the way I thought about things was like almost a false humility. Like I didn't know Heidegger at that time, but it was like the concept of Heideggerian thrownness, which is like I'm only a product of where I was born into, the place and time. So what makes me so sure of my beliefs? And so like I don't know which one is true. You know, I don't like I thought that the universe was a little too perfect. Like I knew the fine tuning arguments and all that, but I thought everything was just a little too perfectly positioned to just be random. Like the chances of everything being random, and also the fact that like we know
Well, did
that
that
conscious.
come before or after? I mean, did you always have that sense,
Yeah, like
or
even when
did
I
it
even
come
when I
afterwards?
deconstructed from Christianity, like
Mhm.
you know, things like the fact that we know that the phenomenon of intent exists,
Mhm.
meaning like regardless of whether I have free will or not,
Mhm.
it the perception I have is that I have free will, that I can intend something, and then in the intent I can work towards a goal and I can move toward it. And just the fact that we know that phenomenon of intent exists within the system, like it's like the presumption that we would presume that no intent could have created the system if
Mhm.
intent as a phenomenon exists within the system. That seemed a little wishful. That seemed more than a little. That seemed wishful thinking to me, that we have this complex system called the universe,
Mhm.
that of which the phenomenon of intent exists within that system, and then we assume that like, okay, something that was not intended gives birth to the phenomenon of intent. That seemed a little ridiculous. So
Mhm.
to me it seemed almost certain that God existed, whatever God was. But like the idea that it was like one God and not a pantheon of gods, or the idea that like it wasn't just being itself, like the universe itself was conscious, or like the idea that like one religion had it right, that was an idea that was very foreign to me. And I want to say
Okay.
to Jason, Mr. Almond Tree, I've never been on a live stream with you, and you're
Oh
probably the
yeah.
number one person that of which I've never been on a live stream that I really hoped
It took us
one day to be on a live stream.
Hey,
So
well here I am. I
Good
don't know
to
how long I
see you,
can stay.
Jason. Good to see you, Jason.
It's
Let
good
me
to see you
give
guys
Nathan
too.
a chance, because I actually asked the question of him too. Is this a way to fake the brain into a near-death experience?
Oh, psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that near-death experiences are not one particular type of psychological experience. I think it's a label that's given to a broad cluster of different experiences that have all kinds of different causes. Some of them are to do with, different levels of oxygen. Some of them are to do with blood circulation. Some of them are to do with like something called like temporal lobe syndrome. And there's many more different kind of explanations of those things. There are some similarities between some of those causes and what happens when people take psychedelics, but there are also some differences too. So I think that you would find that there would be some overlap, but I also don't think there is like one thing called near-death experiences. There's just a kind of collection of all different experiences. Similarly with psychedelics, a collection of a lot of different experiences, and there's some overlap in those. Yeah.
Right. Some are angelic, and some are demonic, and some of the trees talking to you, and some have the little elf guys, and some are just colors and new ways
Yeah,
of
or
hearing.
even
And
I would say even within that, right? What some people are describing as angelic and demonic, other people might describe in very different terms. So even the descriptions that people are producing about these experiences, people can have similar experiences and produce quite different descriptions about them depending on the language that they have available to them beforehand, and then the communities they're exposed to afterwards. People will kind of have similar experiences and reinterpret those in different ways based off of the kinds of like theologies that they adopt, the cultural context they're in, and so on.
Okay. Interesting. Jason, what brought you in? Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Luke would be proud of you. You're dressed appropriately for a live stream.
I'm always wearing a tank top. Always. It's just so much easier. And then if you get sweaty, like, you don't make your shirt stinky because, you know.
You always have a clean shirt because you're not wearing it.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just wanted to hop on and see what you guys were up to. I didn't really have too much to add. I just spent yesterday working, and I got to get back to work in a little bit. So I just thought I'd take a few minutes to hang out.
Cool.
That's all.
Appreciate it.
But you're talking about
what are we talking about?
Psychedelics, NDEs.
Psychedelics.
I don't know.
UFOs.
I
Kale.
like those.
Yeah, I'll
Psychedelics took away my facial hair though, so it made me look much younger. So that was psychedelics. I had a full beard before.
Oh.
Did you? Neil with a full beard? That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty gullible. I believe it. So yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing: is Neil, this may not seem really obvious, and if I fail to land this one, tell me, and we move on. But there is Sam Tiedemann, our buddy Sam. My mouse is malfunctioning right now, but anyway, Sam talked. They did a response with this guy here. I don't know this guy. But anyway, Sam and this guy did a respond video to Wes Hupp and Mike Winger discussing Nicaea. And they go through and they're doing, I mean, Sam's like, it's like, I said in the chat, he's like watching a great tennis player, practice for Wimbledon when he talks all this stuff about the history of theology and the Trinity and why we all got it wrong, et cetera, et cetera. He's very good at it. But then the question I had was what's the relevant? Why? What difference does it make? I mean, in the end, he both regarding the Mike Winger and Wes Hupp, but also the critique of them. I mean, yes, you might be more right about the history than they are, but in the end, I'm wondering, what difference does it make? And so in the same way, it's like you could look at this, you could talk about, are you going to, regarding what do you experience? What is the truth behind the experience of psychedelics? What's the difference? So what is kind of my response ultimately? Because it's like, well, also too, with regard to discipleship that Paul talked about today, I want to know what kind of Christian makes, what's the difference does it make in your life? And that's to me, what's a good disciple? Is a good disciple who's a person who goes to church and contributes 10% of their income and is a good citizen? Or is a disciple, a true disciple, someone who actually makes a substantial impact in the lives of people for the better? So I kind of, whether it's UFOs or psychedelics or demons or theology, that's kind of my response. What changes the price of cabbage?
When a sufficient number of people want a worldly arenic answer to that question, then we will have a theocracy. And for the time being, we are content with resting that question within God, up to the Holy Spirit, you could say. And thanks be to God, that's the case. What I mean is answering the question of what's the whole point of everything, of anything.
Well, we know what really makes a difference in some things, right? I
We
mean,
do.
if you fuck up your marriage and
but
you
it's
crash
different
your
for-
family, we know
Yeah.
that's going to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives, including yours, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Talking about this stuff, I'm sorry to say it so harshly. I'm not angry. I'm just being snarky. But talking about theology in the 4th century AD, CE, pick your letters. What difference does it make?
Are you just kind of asking if it's transformative? I guess, like the discussion on any theological
When you
debate
think
or
about
any
all the
experience,
things,
is it does
yes,
it actually?
yeah. When you think about all the things in the world to really care about,
Hmm.
like one of the things I'm really concerned about right now that is somewhat distant from me are the living conditions children are being forced to endure in detention centers right now, run by my federal government. That's a big issue for me right now. I don't talk about it much here.
Yeah, but if
Some
you
people
talk
might say I
about
talk
that,
about it.
Mark, if you talk about that and you don't sort of say what St. Augustine had to say about some obtuse topic, then people on the internet will think you're less serious and plausible for talking about serious topics like theology, you see? So, and in my sarcastic delivery of that, I'm kind of implying what I think the values and purpose are of knowing about this abstruse stuff, which is what I think for a lot of philosophy and theology. It's so people can blow hot air and smell their own hot air and be taken seriously by others rather than to help people or love people or
Yeah,
anything
I
like
don't want it to
was
sound that
because-
harsh, though. Could I?
Sorry,
Can
real
I say?
quick, real
Can we
quick.
say it in a nice way, Nathan?
It-
Go ahead, Neil.
It can, but yeah, sorry, Neil.
It's because the culture at large is playing the race to the bottom whataboutism game. So you can pick any catastrophe, and I'll up the catastrophe. I'll say 70 million aborted children. There you go. I'll say how many divorces over the last, like so.
But we could have a discussion about the subject of abortion, and we could talk about children and development of fetuses in the womb and the different stages, and we could actually have a discussion across ideological lines, and maybe not develop a universal consensus on the subject where we all agreed entirely, but we could develop a majoritarian view on what is a child, when is it separate from its mother and distinct.
I think that's.
And
I think
unique and so
even
on.
entertaining that is a bit of a waste of time, right? Because you're like, it is bad that this is happening to children, and someone's gone, look over there, and it's like, just don't get distracted by someone's whataboutism, right? Like, so yeah, sure, we can talk but that's not what we're talking about. We're
Right,
talking
that's
about
true. I
Is
mean,
is that good or bad, right?
To your point, what I'm saying is in detention centers we have actual children that we know are children that are distinct, that are viable individuals with personhood and rights under the law, both national and international.
I agree. There's
Versus
ways
a more
of thinking about
contended
it,
area.
but the reason I think that what I'm suggesting there is a more pointed way is because I think that the only way that those sorts of devices are functioning is to just like turn the discourse into a nonsense set of comparisons and avoid thinking about a genuinely difficult thing that someone probably has a conscience about, right?
Sure.
And so when I ask, like, okay, go to the UFO subject, right? If Tim suggested that it would be a complete reordering of how we see the world. But if we're back to, okay, so if that were the case, I think, frankly, Neil, I think all of you guys are essentially secure enough in yourselves, Neil, Nathan, Jason, Ron, even though I don't see Ron and he flickers in and out of our reality, is that he's a substantial enough person that even that would not really change who he was and how he cared for people in the real world and the people around him. I mean, the world would be an interesting place after that, but I think we would all still be who we are with not a lot of change. Is that true?
I think that's true for me. I'm pretty. I don't
You'd
know. If
still
that's
love
true for
you still
majority.
love your wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd still act the same. I think if we discovered aliens, it wouldn't be much different than discovering a bug to me. But I think to most people, it's different because we assume they're of a higher intelligence. But then I don't know how that's much different than AI or anything like that. And if you're comfortable around those things, I don't know why it would be disorienting. I guess it might be disorienting to some of your worldview, but I don't think it should be disorienting to the fundamentals of your faith. Because if you actually are really getting down to what the Spirit of God is and what that actually means around all of that, like I don't really think there's really anything else. It's just kind of like that's what is sustaining all existence. So all things kind of can exist in that, and you don't really have to be concerned with it. It's just kind of another word. It's just like an alien or another thing we discover is just kind of another word. It's just another identity coming into being and being included in God's reality.
A new problem.
I think it would affect a lot of people. I think it would affect a lot of people the same way, let's say, having a culture that's promoting hedonism affects a lot of people now. Like the culture at large, valuing. I would say that the culture at large, what it values now is get what's good now. Get the gambling app. You'll have fun. Get the party. Go to the party. Go to the sport. Care about the sports game. Care about get the thing that's gonna make you feel good now. Get the AI porn. Get the DoorDash. Get the whatever the thing is that makes you feel good right now. And so like when that evaporates, when let's say the money supply dries up, and so like what I mean by but the culture at large. So if the culture at large is just promoting get what's good now, and then let's say there's something that comes in from the outside that renders what's good now to be completely irrelevant or moot, then I think that would make people highly susceptible.
I've talked a lot, but let me ask you really quickly, and then I'll let you guys go with it however you want. But who's really advocating that, Neil? Because the only people I can really think of who would say that I know most of the people around me are trying really hard to do well, to do good. The people who are evil in the way that you describe, that are true hedonists, are kind of the people at the very top trying to manipulate us into living the way you describe. But I don't see very many people actually living that way.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I'm saying the culture at large versus I don't even think individual people necessarily are so responsible for it. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm watching a football game yesterday evening with my father, and this defensive cornerback makes a brilliant interception. Like, it's a really well thrown ball. Guy's gonna catch it, touchdown. Guy makes a spectacular jump, intercepts the ball. And so like all the attention of the game is on this guy that made this brilliant play. And he runs over to the camera, like on the sideline, because he knows the camera is going to show him. And you think like he's going to make like a awesome sign. And then he rolls up a sleeve, and on his sleeve is written like all God. Like on his sleeve, it's written like all God. That just those two words, like all God. And within like a quarter of a second, as soon as the cameraman saw what he was showing the camera, poof, cut instantly. Announcers didn't mention it. They didn't even like they didn't even mention his name after. Like cut to commercial, and the commercials are all like 5-second get your attention hedonistic junk.
Because
like,
it disrupted the messaging of the broadcast.
So, yeah, it's anyways, so like God doesn't sell the product that it's I'm gonna go Luke Thompson Mammon, like it's about money, God doesn't is not a money maker to these people. And when I say these people, it's not people so much as like it's the welfare of corporations that are trying to put their kids through $160,000 college and pay for the Seattle 2-bedroom house that costs $800,000. And like they're in, it's just normal people trying to make ends meet, and so like I'm not faulting normal people. I'm just saying that eventually that game, the music stops, so to speak. And for each of us, it could stop when we hit a certain age. We have a medical condition at a certain time of our life. For a society, it could stop when there's a major recession, or a war, or a virus. But then the question is, like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier. The question is, like, what matters at the end of your life? And
Why is
who I
that?
vote for matter the most at the end of my life? Like, maybe I don't think so, but maybe.
Why is like the last moment of your life different from this moment?
Because you have a better sense of the entire journey. You have more information as to how the pieces of your journey. It's like reading a book. Like, you don't actually know, like a really good novel, really good story. You don't actually know the meaning of all the pieces. If it's a good story, you don't actually know the meaning of the story until the story's over. That's what actually makes a good story, is that the ending really matters in relation to the story.
How do you change your name like that? Top Bible scholar.
Hey, Cal.
It's left over from the last hangout that was about the Bible.
I baited him in
so
here
excited.
with.
This is like a rockin' live stream here now.
I said we were talking about NDEs, so he's
okay.
He's
Bringing it.
That.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know if you need catching up. That's just what have you heard, and what do you want to talk about, Cal?
Real quick,
I haven't heard it.
One more example.
Go ahead.
Oh, if I can give Nathan one more example, it's like the thief on the cross. There were the two thieves that are hanging next to Jesus on the cross. What is that man known for? Is he known for? Well, actually, I mean, we don't even know the reasons that they're hanging on the cross next to Jesus. We only know that man in history because of the words he said all the way at the end. So,
it might not be historical, right? I mean, it could very easily be a literary device or a theological device that's introduced for, the author's purposes.
No, absolutely. So the question is, like, what do I believe the purpose of my life is? I said this to Jacob once, Jacob Federucci. I said, it's not actually up to you to set your legacy in TLC. And he said, "You're wrong. No. I set my own legacy in TLC." I'm like, no. It's not. That's not actually up to you.
You're very right.
That's the collective. Everybody else in relation.
Collective sets it. Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very true.
Anyway, go ahead. That's it.
No. So go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I've been trying to sit here to kind of catch up because I missed quite a bit of it the beginning too, but to trying to get the overall summary, I guess, of the conversation. And is it kind of just the touching on UFOs, NDEs, psychedelics, different arguments about the theology, everything? Is it just kind of we're discussing like what's more fundamental than that, or what are the reasons for all those things?
Well, you could talk about one of the questions that came up was that I had, are psychedelics a way of faking the brain out into having a near-death experience? And Nathan very correctly gave me a very good analytical answer to that. Cal studied it from a different perspective, so I'm kind of curious on NDEs anyway. See if he'd have a different answer.
It's an incredibly fascinating question. Yeah, I've heard lots of NDE testimonies, read a lot of them, probably over 1,000, maybe in the thousands. When people do ask me if I think that drug trips are like the same, and this is an interesting question because people used to assume that NDEs were caused by the brain's own endogenous chemicals at the point of death, like DMT, for example. And then if that was the case, then it would be very obvious that smoking a drug like DMT would induce an experience that was functionally equivalent to an NDE. However, I'm skeptical that NDEs are caused by endogenous brain chemicals because they can occur in people who are medically dead for quite some time. It does, yeah, and I mean, if the reports are to be believed, some of these last days, these are I mean, they're not. I mean, even near death experience is a misnomer. These are death and resurrection experiences essentially, and you can't really explain it in terms of brain activity because their brains are just gone. So, but yeah, and
I
also,
just want to say that's not true. That's not true. There's only one case, Pam Reynolds, that's documented like that, and even that case, it's not well documented that there was no brain activity. The timings actually line up very well with the procedure being done.
What about Evan Alexander's case?
I've not looked into that case, but I know that the Pam
We're
Reynolds
getting
case
really
is
exoteric here, guys. We're not prepared for this kind of detail. Sorry. I mean, it would be a great. How many cases do you guys have to work with here? I mean, you're going to name cases. We're kind of.
We might have looked at more cases than me, but I think that the details matter if you're going to make these sorts of claims, and that's a very specific type of claim about how you would know that the brain activity stopped and what evidence there is for that, right? I mean, that is a very crucial detail that I've never found any evidence of being true in any of the cases I've looked into. There's always one more.
Well, when you're dead, when you're medically dead, you don't have brain activity. So the hypothesis would be that the experience is generated entirely within the dying moments, except that these people will say, during my dying moments, I experienced this. And then after I died, I experienced this, which felt like about 40 years or something like that. And then I was back in my body in the morgue. Or not the morgue, but en route to the morgue in a body bag. One of the first accounts of an NDE that we have is from Plato's writings, describing a soldier named I want to say, who was on a pile of bodies that was about to be burned, and he got up and recounted an NDE that was, a lot like the NDEs that everybody talks about. So again, it could theoretically be that endogenous brain chemicals in a person's dying moments are causing experiences that are phenomenologically equivalent to just tremendous lengths of time. When people go to hell, they describe that experience as endless, even though, of course, it does end, which is a paradox, admittedly. But it would also be asynchronous in the sense that they are having an experience during their dying moments, and then after. Oh my goodness! Sorry, my phone turned off. And then after, but it's all really happening before they die, and they also claim, like they see things like on the roof of a hospital that a nurse goes up and checks. Yeah, it was there. That's the time after, they were medically dead that they floated out of their body and saw that.
Or
so these are the kinds of things that are in the accounts.
People like Gary Habermas retell these stories over and over again, and whether or not they accurately recall the details of the item gets modified by Gary Habermas retelling the story over time.
Nathan,
and the actual original source doesn't.
None of my none of these experiences that I've read about has been through the lens of Gary Habermas. I'm not sure how he's relevant to this.
Yeah, I think that we have enough people who are independent. I'm not wrong to talk. People are independently reporting these things. they're recalling them granted by some form of, recollection. And so it's self-reporting. We have no way to reach inside their skulls and figure out what they really saw or didn't see.
Right. And so that's what's so baffling about some of these non-explanations that are given, right? Is like, so what we have to explain is how someone says a few sentences, and then people reach to invisible souls with no explanation whatsoever about how those are supposed to function. Or, for example, can't answer simple questions. Why do eyes evolve if souls see at spatial locations? Why do souls see at a spatial location as opposed to any other? There's no answer.
No, that's a wonderful question. I wonder that myself all the time as well.
Yeah, but you don't have an answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that's
strange things about NDE.
Well, it's not a strange thing about NDE. It's an empty explanation. It's a word that says nothing, right? You don't have an explanation. This is the problem, is that it's very easy to sort of imply that there are problems for naturalistic hypotheses because they are specific and actually explain things. And then if you just imply like magic does it, and then you've got nothing to say, I mean, that just means you don't have an alternative explanation. You should be saying, I don't know, not there are these genuine explanations.
No, I don't have an explanation. I'm simply telling you what the accounts are of, and they're phenomenologically, qualitatively different than a DMT trip too. The experiences are a different type of experience.
Ron,
why
go
would
ahead.
that be a problem?
Hold on.
DMT trips tend to have.
Hey guys, listen.
I want Ron to speak for a second.
First
Go
off,
ahead, Ron.
I'm really loving this, and I'm just in this group. I'm just a moderator. I'm not. So just for the sake of fun, Nathan, and I'm cool with what you're saying, but let's say there was a moment or a few, not a lot, but a few, where someone passes on. They're on their operating table, their body, something pops out. They go see on top of the roof of the hospital that there's a Mickey Mouse cup. Let's say there were 3 verifiable times, and I'm not saying anything more than that, other than someone they think dies, or let's say medically dies. They go to the roof, see the Mickey Mouse cup. Let's say there's 3 different times it's happened: Russia, United States, and China. Just so that there's something to work with.
So if I had enough empirical evidence that someone had seen something that they would not physically be able to see, would I believe they saw something that they were not physically able to see? Yes.
Okay.
I brought this up before with Nathan. Oh, go ahead, Ron. Finish your thought. Sorry.
No. Because what it is
there's no evidence like that, by the way.
No, let's say you're right, but just for the sake of argument, I'm thinking in my own life, I have seen that, and in other people's as well, but it's very subjective and what's the word? Anecdotal.
Oh, sorry. Did you specify in the sort of thing that you set up that it was like independently verified in any way, or just that you have the experience? Sorry, I thought the idea was that you saw these things, but there's some independent verification that they actually were.
Actually, I've been around it a little bit where it has been independently verified.
Yeah, but not like but not those cases, right? So I mean, so now this is where it will break down, because it won't be like I said.
Oh, sure.
There's a cup in this place, or whatever.
Dude, you're gonna have to give me it. Like you're gonna win.
Well, no, because but that's the problem, right? Is because then in the actual cases you'll get into it, and it will be like actually like way more ambiguous than that, and then the claim will actually turn out to be like multiply interpretable, and like, there'll be all these problems.
And just because I know you, I can say, and I guess I'm playing off my relationship with you here. I've been around it enough to go, yeah, dude, sometimes some weird stuff like this does happen. And you're just going to have to, for this conversation, go, okay, if Ron's right and these other fellas are talking from a position that they say, yeah, stuff like this happens.
I know you believe stuff like this happens, right? Right. My issue is not that I fail to understand that we disagree about these points.
Sorry, I missed like a bunch of what was said when Cal and Nate were going back and forth. Nathan, Nate, what should I call you? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well,
but-
Nathan is right that I don't have any explanations for NDEs. And
But
and
that's-
the thing is, Nathan, I was a naturalist for about 12 years. So if you want, you're welcome to discount every single one of those
Well, I was actually,
accounts.
and
I mean,
was a
I
naturalist
can't
for
verify
13
any
years.
of them either.
I was a naturalist for 13 years. Then
well-
I was an NDE scholar for 58 years, and then I came to
All
the
right,
truth, which is that they're
Nathan,
wrong.
Nathan, my friend. All right,
What?
easy.
No,
Let's
no,
go
no,
easy. Let's go. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, that's the inference
I-
that you're making.
Hold on.
No, it's not the inference. I'm saying that I can't verify any one of those accounts either. I wasn't
Okay.
there.
Okay,
Um,
hold on,
I-
hold
I-
on,
and
guys.
so-
Just stop for 1 second, please. I don't want to have to mute people. Just give me a breath. Let me pitch something at Ron, or that for Ron. See, okay, Ron can't prove his worldview as a charismatic Christian. He can't. I know I'm kind of in his camp, but there's certain things that can't be denied, and they're all subjective. He can probably point to 10 recovering addicts in his church, or who he's met in a reasonable
Yeah.
period of time, who have had profound spiritual encounters with an unprovable experience that they call Jesus, or being born again, or whatever. What kind of language would you guys use at your church for people who have these remarkable transformative experiences? Medicine couldn't get them over the line with their addiction. The best psychologists couldn't get them over, but somehow, some way, they have a spiritual encounter that is entirely subjective, and it rewires their brain in such a way that they have control over a part of their lives that was destroying them, and they didn't have it before. So there's just a realm of a human experience that is beyond the empirical and the predictable and controllable.
Well, if it's experienced, it
That
can't be
has
like-
real powerful experience, but it has real life-altering force and power in
Yeah.
individual lives.
I would just say I'd restate what you're saying, right? There's religion, and that impacts people's lives, but it's not science.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not
not science.
religion.
Absolutely
I know,
not
I know,
science.
I know, but this is the problem: is that some people are in the business of turning their religion not into religion, but into a kind of pseudoscience, right? Instead, and
Right.
I'm fine with people having transformative experiences that they explain in various ways. But
Okay.
what frustrates me is when people turn religion into pseudoscience and try to pretend that, or try to do the same thing, but don't hold themselves to any of the same standards.
Okay, so I think I see something there. What you're saying is you're okay. Instead of using the word pseudoscience, I'm just going to say you're concerned about attempts to impose or project scientific explanations to what are religious or spiritual phenomena or experiences.
I'm not opposed to doing that. I'm opposed to religion trying to take the form of science discursively, which is about prediction and world control. If you want to play the prediction and world control game, make predictions, right? And test.
But that's
your
the thing,
theories.
is we can't do that with what.
Right.
See,
I know,
some
and that's
people,
why you can't
Jesus,
play that game. It's
some
not- it
people have
shouldn't
that,
be-
but it doesn't discount the value of the experience.
No, but that's because. But this is the problem: and it's, I would say, more so a problem for modern people and Americans, but that is like it's a very it's almost like a sin. It's like an impious sin. Like, I'm not okay with just living my life with a disposition towards God or religion in a particular kind of way. Instead, I have to make God a magic card dealer or something. He's got a feature in my snapping his fingers and doing this and that, and he's got to be like a particle or something.
So yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand you, Nathan, as best I can. So you're saying like the you're just concerned with people using their experience to create to use that as an argument to convince to change people's minds or something? Or?
I just think approaching religion through this rationalist paradigm is completely mistaken. And the only way that people, I mean, some people can make it work and have a large amount of intellectual humility, but they cannot rationally compel people. They will have to say, these are all just competing ways of looking at things that are on a kind of different playing field, and there's no kind of decisive fact of the matter or whatever. But even that, I think, is partly a mistake, because I don't think that is what religion is about.
But science is how we see the world, though, very often. And go, sorry, Jason. Part of the problem is, as modern people, we're kind of programmed to interpret our experiences through a pseudoscientific lens.
Right, and I'm saying people shouldn't do that. I mean, look, what I'm saying is equally offensive to people who want to build up a science.
Take the jab, don't take the jab. Believe the science, take the jab, don't take the jab. Believe the science. That's all pseudoscientific ways of our engaging in the world, right?
Also, I mean, I think that vaccines are a good part of science, and that
I have no problem with vaccines. I'm just saying, though, but both people will say, my point was, believe the science. Both sides are saying believe the science for it and against it.
I think there are better examples, which would be people saying something like, evolution told us to do XYZ, or it's in your genes to do XYZ, or something, like people giving these sorts of explanations and then reading like normative implications off of it. So, therefore you should have this kind of sexual behavior, or you should have this desire, or we should organize ourselves politically. People kind of making claims, making metaphysical claims off of weird, like extra.
Okay. Go ahead, guys. Somebody else talk, just to kind of balance things out. Fair enough.
I'm just not sure that religion can't rationally compel someone to be religious. I believe that it can. I believe that religion can be rationally defended. I mean, that's kind of what the whole Protestant Reformation is about. It's about rational, it's rationally convincing other religious people, of course. But I don't think that it just can't be rationally convincing.
I know, but like someone can be rationally convinced that my left foot is their mother, right? Like, that kind of rationality comes cheap. People can be very stupid. I think that informed people won't be rationally compelled, and I think it is a religious mistake. And this would actually be a theological critique to try and turn religion into a way of theorizing that's on the play with sciences.
Ron brought up There Might Be Snakes, the book. Don't Sleep, There Might Be Snakes. And it's again in the foreword of that, or it's the prologue. He recounts the experience that he had with the little tribe that he and his family were living in, living with amongst. And the whole tribe sees a god at the edge of the forest or village. And the god is warning them, stay out of the jungle, right? And everybody's a huge uproar. Only problem is he and his daughter don't see the god or deity or whatever the heck it was, but they see it. They see this entity, this spiritual force, and so it's telling them the social consensus. Everybody with any sense in that community saw the deity, heard it give the warning, and said, stay out of the forest or stay out of the jungle right now. And so who's the crazy person? Who are the people on the margins of sanity? Because this is how we define sanity and insanity, right? Consensus reality, consensus understandings of reality, that we basically say this person is saying, the person talking to the air, screaming at something invisible, that's the crazy person for us, right? Only thing is it got flipped around. Instead of it being one person, as far as from Everett's point of view, it's the whole tribe sees something he doesn't see. And so Am I communicating at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand you. I think I'm kind of understanding Nathan's point too, and I think that's kind of well, whether I mean I probably got to go soon anyway, but whether you're using people's experiences as a scientific method to rationalize and convince somebody is kind of the same as using historical facts. Is that am I? If I'm summarizing right, I personally don't find historical facts compelling at all because I just think I mean, I don't know what proves them. Like we found them written down somewhere. Then I'm like, what proves that someone wrote down the correct thing? And then if you're talking to someone like they heard it from their ancestors, like it's to me it's uncompelling. But to some people it is very compelling. Also, having intellectual conversations and rationalizing has brought a lot of people into the Orthodox Church. Like certain people, there's different types of people that find different things compelling. I don't know that is what is ultimately changes you on a fundamental. It changes your conscience, and I don't know that Cal was necessarily saying that. I think he was kind of looking at. It's kind of like the DMT experiences. Like they're all similar. So NDEs, he's saying there's a weird sort of similar thread that runs through them. I don't know if someone were to be convinced of God and believe in God for those sorts of things, like, oh, there's these magical elves that exist. Oh, all NDEs have the same experience. I almost think that's kind of coming to believe in
It
God
was nice to
through
meet you,
fear.
Nathan.
I was saying that I feel like that's kind of coming to God through fear or something like that. And then I don't know that I don't know that it's necessarily a wrong thing because I mean there are ways to kind of there's different doors to go through. I don't know that you're getting to the fundamental thing like you guys are trying to talk about of like what actually is fundamentally changing on your heart. Because to get to the House of Wu thing, I've seen UFOs, and whether it was my brain doing something weird, whether I was like seeing a hallucination, whatever, I've seen it multiple times, twice, the same thing, very specific. I could describe to you. But I don't include that. I don't include that. I don't. Hold on.
Whoa!
I don't.
Hey guys,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Wait, hey guys.
Okay.
There's an angel here. Well, I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Jason, I'm sorry. Like, there's an angel here. Does anyone need a miracle? I'm sorry to interrupt. Hey, Lord, in the name of Jesus, I pray for. Wait a second, please, guys. There's a young guy who has cancer. And Lord, we lift them up to you. I'm so sorry. I'm not. Lord, we pray for those that have cancer. Lord, that you heal them. That, Lord, that we curse the cancer in Jesus' name and that we speak life over this fella. I met him a little while ago. Lord, we speak life over him. And Lord, for the unspoken requests in this place, for the impossible things, for the miraculous, Father, that you do it. And Lord, we thank you that your joy and your presence would be here as well. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm sorry, but I ain't playing when he shows up. Yeah, sorry, dude.
Pray for Freddie.
I believe you.
Oh, okay, Lord, and for Freddie. Lord, we pray healing and restoration for him.
Got a friend named Cole I want to pray for.
Okay, and for Cole. The unspoken request that Neil has just mentioned. And Lord, we do bless everyone here who's watching and listening in Jesus' name. Amen. Jason, I figured you would understand. Like, dude, I'm like, I can actually hear him. Oh, this is funny. Like, I can actually hear an angel once in a while. Like, and he doesn't show up a lot, but when he does, I don't mess around.
No, I understand. I totally I don't discredit that at all.
Yeah. Sorry, we get that, and we now return you to our regularly scheduled program.
That was a
It's the House of Wu.
Yeah.
He comes riding on his giant turkey. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
And he's riding 6 white turkeys when he comes.
I guess what I was just getting at though, like I've had even when I came back to God, I was healed, I would say miraculously, of 2 different things. But like whenever I'm sharing my testimony about about God, or if I'm sharing my testimony, I don't often share those things, and I'm not 100%
Right.
sure why. I remember once I was talking this, I shared my testimony on something, and my mom watched it, and she was like, "Why didn't you tell them about God healing you?" And it just almost feels irrelevant to me, kind of like the UFO things. I'm like, it's not what actually changed my heart. Like, it might have been like just a door that got me to a place of humility and repentance to where I could actually love other people, you know,
Oh,
and
wow.
then not be so resentful and bitter towards everyone else in life. So I think those things, whether it's NDEs, psychedelics, UFOs, or intellectual theological arguments, like, I don't know that they're always
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't.
sorry we didn't get more. I wanted to hear more from Cal. The problem is that we're not in a situation where we, as an audience, where we can get into super fine particulars debating cases that nobody's heard about, and that would take us all hours to kind of research. And now, if I were doing an interview and I had time to look some up and become familiar on the subject, then maybe it would be a really fruitful discussion to have you guys back on and actually talk about it, the subject. But I'm just not. This is not that space. So we're really working in broad brushstrokes here on a subject. And for me, it's always, I keep going back to where's the rubber meet the road. Forgive the metaphor, but it's and there is a place where religion does touch reality for us. And if you don't want to call it religion, call it something else. The inexplicable, or the non-empirical, or the spiritual. For me, it's always when did we talk about how far back was it when we brought up if the resurrection didn't happen, would it still be? What was the actual question, Neil? Do you remember how it was phrased?
Would you still believe? Would it still be a worthwhile endeavor?
Right. And for me, I'm in it to do the stuff. Which
What it means for it to happen seems to be that, I think, what it means for the resurrection to happen is that it does something in your life. It's not a claim about representing historical facts. I don't think.
Wait, say more about that. What it means for the resurrection. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that this is the sort of mistake of viewing of the rationalistic project, which is trying to be the same thing in theology as everything else, right? Which is to say, here's Christianity, here's what it's about. It's about representing the world as it existed, just over 2,000 years ago, and how was a particular region of space-time back then, and did a guy resurrect, and what does that look like, and are bits of writing that are produced on papyri good evidence to infer that a resurrection event took place based off of? I mean, that's got nothing to do with anything I know about Christianity. Well, I mean, it has a lot to do with apologetics, but it's got nothing to do with being aware of your own sin and inadequacies, wanting to be better, going past someone in the street who doesn't have a home and wanting, feeling your conscience and wanting to get them a sandwich or something. That's what Christianity is about to me. Nothing to do with that absolute nonsense of talking about those sorts of things and Bayesian inferences and, misapplying statistics, being so desperate to have a scientific case.
Well, Sherry asks, did any of you meet Jesus? And I think for me, it's like, I could answer that yes and no, because I certainly didn't meet him in the way Thomas met him in the Gospels, say, or, so I can't say I have met him in the way I've met all of you on a screen like this, right? And talked in depth. Yet there are experiences that I would say I could answer yes, but it's going to be really vague and unsatisfactory from a materialistic point of view. What do you think?
Sorry, I was just laughing at Claire's comment. I'm in my stepmom's house, but it does look like a grandma's house. No, to Sherry's question, I just often think about what's that? It's Matthew. It's like the end. I can't remember what part of Matthew it is, but it's when Jesus is kind of talking to him, and he says, "Did you?" They ask him the question, "When did we see you, Lord?" And he's like, "When you did it to the least of these, my brethren, is when you
Yeah,
saw me."
yeah.
With the visiting him in prison, that passage, whatever. I'm doing a terrible job recounting it.
No,
But
I
we
think
got it. We got
it's-
yeah, okay. I do have. I have to go soon, but I have a question for you, Ron.
Yeah.
Did you when you said you saw an angel or heard an angel?
Just now I heard him
Okay.
audibly. Like,
Do you ever see the angel?
I've seen angelic stuff. I want to be like, have I ever seen like a winged creature with a halo and a sword and
Yeah.
shield? No.
Okay.
My friends have, but
Yeah.
to answer, but I've seen other things, and this is not on drugs, and this is like seeing, like so. Yeah, seen stuff, angelic
Yeah.
and demonic too when I was a kid, but that was me just getting picked
I
on.
don't know why that stuff's so interesting. Like I'm almost more hearing
Well,
people's demonic stories is like so
well,
interesting. I mean, my dad grew up in like a haunted house, and I'm like the stories of
oh,
that
really?
are just like
right.
freaking crazy.
Because it's easier
I'm
to
like,
believe in evil than it is good.
well, yeah, but
Everyone believes in evil. Everyone believes in evil
I guess like I don't
or
hear
bad.
about angelic experiences as much as demonic ones either. Like I don't hear people being like, "Oh, I saw an angel." Usually
You want
that
to hear
seems,
an
or I
angel?
heard an angel. Like usually that seems really rare. I'm always scared. Like
Oh.
if I'm not like nice to this homeless guy, oh crowd, that could be an angel. Like what am
Well, that's not a bad attitude.
Yeah.
It could keep you out of trouble regardless.
Yeah. But I guess like it seems like lots of people will have demonic experiences, or they'll be like, and I saw these shadows, and it's like, could you spin
Right.
shadows? But it's really spooky, or like telling
Right.
scary stories around the campfire. It's like you don't really hear people
Right.
telling
Telling good stories.
or
I
angelic
walked
ones.
out. Well,
But
because here's
that
the thing. Dude, it's not fun to listen to like. And then we went. I washed the car, and then I was kind to the dog, and I had a great day at work, and I love my wife. Like people like that's boring.
yeah,
You
that's
want to
interesting
hear?
that that's what you say is that's an angelic story. I was nice to my dog. No, I like that a lot because
Well,
that's an angelic. That's a good heavenly act.
no, but here's the thing. You know what? It does freak people out because I got saved with bikers, like bikers, not
Yeah.
just. And I was the first time I really got witness to. We were all smoking a joint, and this guy named Gino, he's like Paul Vander. He was just a massive dude, like a fire plug, and I always liked him. I didn't know Gino was a biker enforcer and all that, and he just,
Did you
he's
just
tatted
almost
up.
compare Paul Vanderklay to a massive biker dude?
Well, he's
I thought
tall.
you just said Paul. Oh, okay.
No, Paul's tall. Well, this
Okay,
Gino was just big. Okay, not
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
And Gino just starts talking. We're talking, and then he goes, we're smoking a joint. He goes, Ron, we're all sinners, and we all need a savior, and we've all messed up, and I'm like, all right, he's preaching to me, but he's cool. And the room gets quiet. I'm like, what? And they're like, Gino's talking around about God. What I didn't know is Gino and his buddy Animal could clear out a whole bar by himself, but just those two guys. And Gino that was the angelic story. Is Gino was always kind to me.
Hmm.
I always liked Gino. We were like family immediately. That's the angelic, but it doesn't sell. It doesn't travel fast. It doesn't have any sex appeal or drama.
That's super interesting, and that's extremely profound and cool too. That the story type of angelic stories you're telling are grounded in the natural world that much. I mean, I guess demonic stories usually are too. They just have a tendency to kind of try to make you go crazy or something a little bit.
Well,
But the
it's
angelic
fear.
stories are very, very grounded in like
Yeah.
this is my angelic story. Is this guy was nice to me
Yeah.
and treated me like a human being.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's well, Legion. Okay, after let's say you met, if you saw David Copperfield was a magician, and someone asked him, David Copperfield, did you ever see a real magic or a miracle? And I think this was on Paul's live stream. One of them, they were just talking, and David Copperfield said, "Yeah, I've seen it, but it's boring. It's
Yeah.
there's no ooh ah to it. Like you turn water
Yeah.
into wine, you're like, all right, we got wine, but there's no
Yeah.
fireworks to real stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to close this down, guys, because I've got to go deal with my mom.
Okay.
But the regardless of whatever is or isn't out there, I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of what we're talking about today, right? What is or isn't, lights in the sky or strange experiences that are unprovable or uncategorizable, angels, demons, all the rest. A love covers a multitude of sins. And I don't have the precise reference for you, but it is in First Peter.
Right.
And I think you can navigate quite a bit in the world by starting there.
This has been amazingly fun. Mark S. and Nathan, good seeing you.
Yeah, if you guys have,
And
you guys like 30
Jason.
seconds each for a last thought.
All right, I'm just saying
I gotta-
goodbye, so everyone else say hi. First of all.
I got a quick last thought. I was actually just thinking that same thing, that demon stories are more interesting than angel stories recently. But then to be quick Bible nerd, I was thinking that if it's most of the actual angel stories in scripture are terrifying to the people who that happen to. So,
You got the worst sound going today, Mark. Where are you at?
I'm at the gym.
Okay, that explains it.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries, brother. Love you.
See you, Mark.
Have a good Thanksgiving to everybody, by the
Yeah.
way. Neil and everybody who's been
Happy
here.
Thanksgiving.
All you Americans,
Yeah, I don't
Canadians have already
celebrate.
had theirs. Say what do you give thanks, Nathan, in the UK?
Yeah, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I can go to there's a pub called the
you
Mayflower,
could
where
you
the
could have a
Mayflower
very
Club-
exotic American experience and celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
tomorrow
but
or
America
next
is
day.
my least favorite country. It's the most sinful society on earth. So.
Are you Europeans even grateful at all? What the?
We saved your biscuits in the Great War.
Oh yeah.
Which
yeah.
one?
Do you know what you did? You know
Twice.
why is America so economically powerful? Actually, because
Because we sucked it all up from you guys.
yeah,
You-
exactly. The British
you
Empire.
people colonialized the globe, and then we survived the war that destroyed everything that you'd built, and just yeah.
collaborated with the
American way.
Nazis. IBM built the machines to process the Holocaust. Greatest country on earth. And gave the Nazis the inspiration for their eugenics laws. Still
We did.
written in law today in America.
You're not getting any argument from me, I'm afraid. So, but God bless America, and God bless the UK.
Yeah.
I'm getting feedback now.
And this mess. Yeah, I don't know who it is. Right. See you. Please.
All
Bye,
right,
guys.
all right. Yeah, I am. We didn't get the thank. Where is that coming from?
Audio is acting up badly.
Okay. Anyway, we should have dedicated some time for thanking and reflecting upon being what we should be thankful for. So we'll do this after the fact. So, but I hope everybody has a good holiday for those of you who celebrate. And I'll leave it at that. And Ron, keep me posted if you get more messages.
No, that was it. It doesn't happen a lot, but thanks for letting me play through and
Yeah, always.
yeah. So,
Always.
all right, guys.
All right,
be
guys.
blessed.
See you later. Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Jason, Mark, Ron.
Yeah.
All right.